Hey guys, and welcome to our first commentary video on the sort of refreshed channel. This one's going to be about video game cutscenes. If you guys like this sort of new style of content, let me know in the comments, or give a like or subscribe, help us out. Anyways, into the video. Ever since the 1987 LucasArts game Maniac Mansion, the term cutscene has been used to describe the narrative clips that play in between gameplay to explain crucial elements of a game's plot. They have become increasingly popular as gaming has gotten more cinematic over time. Sometimes they become even more popular than the game itself. Heck, sometimes a developer even says screw it and makes the entire game a cutscene.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
Depending on who you ask, when it comes to cutscenes, there's a few different types of people. There's the kind who just skip every single cutscene because stories are for nerds. And there's the kind that skip like half of them and watch others because I don't even know what they're doing. Like, at least the people who skip all of them are committing to not knowing what's going on. Anyways, my opinions on your cutscene viewing habits aside, I've always found video game cutscenes, especially in more realistic games, a bit awkward. Video game studios typically put their all into cutscenes to try and make them look as realistic as possible, usually making them look several times better than the gameplay itself. Now, personally, I've never really had a problem with the dissonance between the quality of the cutscenes and the visual quality of the gameplay, especially if the gameplay is fun enough to distract you from that sudden change. But regardless, it can still be jarring at times. The character models, despite their relatively impressive amount of detail and animation, still seem to have some strange lifeless quality to their movements and eyes, their facial movements especially. That, and if you're trying to play a newer game on more modern hardware, the game can going from looking like a masterpiece of cinematography to a defunct clone of Mr. Potato Head as your 6-year-old PC struggles to render their eyelids. Oftentimes these cutscenes are made entirely out of the main game-making process. Some games will use the same engine and character models to create their cutscenes, and this is usually done with more like heavily stylized games like Final Fantasy VII Remake and Breath of the Wild. And when they're using this method, it's pretty much the exact same way that you would make any CGI movie. I don't have time to get into that whole process here, but I'm sure there's other great videos on YouTube about it somewhere. Just go, look it up. After this video, of course. Anyways, the other most popular method for making cutscenes is to have the actual actors that you rendered the characters after come back and do mocap to create sort of, again, like movie-style cutscenes. This is the method that's most often used when it comes to realistic games like Battlefront 2 or The Last of Us 2, those sort of like hyper-realistic games where they're trying to make them look as much like real people as possible. Which sort of takes me to my main point. Why don't we just make the cutscenes live action? With games becoming more realistic every day, the actual dissonance between that gameplay quality and that cutscene quality is getting less and less, with every AAA game that's released, or at least most of them. With the massive cost it takes to actually get the actor back, create a CGI body for them that perfectly matches their own face, matching all the animations, keying everything together, lighting, CGI set creation, all the other visual effects that, have to be created in order to make a virtual environment. Why not just make the cutscenes live-action clips? A live-action cutscene would significantly increase the, quality of the actual visual effect. And it would greatly reduce that uncanny valley quality that we get from cutscenes today. With so many games that are, rife with that weird uncanny valley animation in their faces. Now, this idea was actually fairly popular in the late 90s, as 3D graphics were getting realistic enough to create humans, but not quite realistic enough for those more cinematic story cuts. Unfortunately, live-action cutscenes more or less died after a debacle regarding the 1992 game Night Trap that featured sort of live-action, pre-recorded choose-your-own-adventure style gameplay. The game was actually used in that famous Congress hearing that led to the creation of the ESA, the company that puts that big ugly letter E in the corner of all your video game covers. But let's not get off track. I believe it's time we bring them back, give them another shot, and I'm not the only one. In 2019, the game Control, which was actually fairly popular, did use a mixture of live-action footage and CGI-rendered animation in order to create their cutscenes. This mix helps to build immersion in the world, make you feel less like you're watching a creepy puppet of someone and more like you're watching an actual person emote and react as they would in that environment. It helps fool your brain into believing that's actually part of the real world and less like you're, just playing a video game. Now, not only would live-action cutscenes significantly increase the visual quality, but it would also significantly reduce the load on your PC or console, whichever one you're playing. 3D rendered cutscenes require the use of your PC or console's hardware in order to render them in real time. This can cause frame drops and stutters during these more cinematic moments, breaking the immersion. Now, sometimes the developers do have these 3D rendered cutscenes embedded as a video instead of as something your computer or console actually has to render, but that's not the standard. Live action cutscenes would pretty much fix this issue. For one, no matter the level of potato your console or PC is, the cutscenes would always maintain their high level of realism, since developers would pretty much have to embed them as a video file because there's no real way to do real-time rendering for live action cutscenes, that is on your PC or console. That just doesn't really work. At least no way to do it in an efficient manner. Anyways, what do you guys think? Do you prefer the CGI cutscenes? Do you think live action cutscenes would, spice up the gaming industry a little bit? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Have you seen my lost gerbil? He's been missing for 3.5 weeks now, and I'm starting to get concerned. I'm starting to think the cat might have done it. Any on all thoughts in the comments, leave a like, subscribe. Maybe catch me on the McDoncast, where me and my friend talk about video games and TV and movies, all that sort of stuff. Anyways, I'll be back to talk about more gaming, TV, and movie-related content on this channel soon, so see y'all next time.